Greetings and welcome to another musical adventure in time travel. In this video I'm going to show you possibly one of the most boring but also one of the most useful things to be featured so far. Now that's how to tune a wonderful 10-string lyre to the wonderfully pure just intonation of antiquity. Very briefly, the difference between just intonation and horrible modern equal temperament is that in equal temperament, all the intervals are artificially made equal. And this is so you can seamlessly transpose between different keys, which enabled all the sort of classical music from the 18th century onwards and things to develop. First becoming very popular with the music of Bach and his well-tempered clavier and all that nonsense. But the main disadvantage of equal temperament is because of this artificial equal ratio of intervals between your semitones, the actual intervals themselves are all very slightly out of tune and impure, almost muddy sounding to the trained ear. Indeed, the best way to hear this is if you play a triad on the piano. That's 3 notes, for example C, E, G. And you can actually hear these slightly out of phase beat waves. It sounds almost like a shimmer, very slightly out of tune. Unfortunately, you get none of that in just intonation. So what was just intonation? This is a form of divisive tuning where a musical string is divided very precisely into different ratios. And this was devised at least 5,000 years ago by the very clever very mathematical ancient Mesopotamians during the development of the very first fretted lutes. And in order to make a fretted lute, you've got to calculate exactly where to put the frets on the instrument. So that's why they had this divisive system of working out the ratios of the intervals. So what is the difference between equal temperament and just intonation sound like? Well, this can be heard in my frankly amazing selection of albums of ancient lyre music. Prior to 2012, unfortunately I didn't have a means to tune my lyre into just intonation. But then early on in 2012, thanks to my collaboration with the amazing biblical musicologist, a chap called John Wheeler, who I've collaborated with for almost since my first recordings began, he provided me with these wonderful just intonation tuning tones. Now these are all generated by a very clever program called SCALA, S-C-A-L-A, if you want to sort of Wikipedia that. But in short, he provided me with these tones in like a zip file, which I then played back and recorded with one of my digital recorders and converted to MP3 format until lo and behold, I put them on my iPod, so we have the world's first lyre tuning app in just intonation, and that's what we're going to use today. And the lyre I'm playing, this is the wonderfully handmade evocation of the 10-string biblical kinnor, the lyre played in the Temple of Jerusalem, incidentally by my very own, very ancient Levite ancestors. And this is tuned between middle C at the bottom string right up to the second E above middle C. To tune into the wonderfully pure intervals in just intonation, excuse me a minute while I just find the right little file, you've got to get onto my little iPod. Let's have a look. So starting right at the bottom, hope you can hear this. I usually use it through my earphones. So this is C, the bottom C, in just intonation. Oh, right, let's tune up to that if we can. A bit flat. Just test the harmonic. That sounds more or less in. Whoops, he's gone up by himself. Let's just stop that. Pause button. That's the trouble with these things, they've got autoplay. So up to the next string, that's D above middle C, and in just intonation, let's find him. Where is he? D. Ooh, that's a bit flat. that's just about in. Just tested the harmonic as well, just to make sure, so it sounds an octave higher. Right, then we have E. Ooh, that's a bit flat as well. What's going on here? Let's find the app again. So this is the E. Now you can, in just intonation, E's and notes are quite a bit flatter than the E's in Horrible Equal Temperament. All the rest of the notes, it's very hard to actually hear the difference between them unless you hear the intervals played at the same time, and it's a wonderful, clear, almost three-dimensional sound you get. Anyway, that's to be heard later. This is E in just intonation. Just move this near this microphone. Just about anything. So then we move up to F. Okay, F. Again, move that nearer the microphone. And already we have a nice just intonation fourth, much almost a three-dimensional sound compared to your wobbly sort of shimmering intervals you get on the piano. And then we go to G. Let's have a look if I can see where he is. Here he is, G in just intonation. More or less in, and that's a wonderfully bit sharp. And that's just approaching a fifth in just intonation. Nice three-dimensional quality of sound. Then we go up to A. Okay, where's A on this thing? Okay, I've lost it. Bear with me. F, G, A. Where's A gone? There he is. Oh yes, that sounds nice. That D and the A, I love that sound. Wonderfully pure. Right, so then we're going to B. Ooh, that's nice. I just love the fifths, the sound of fifths in just intonation. I could listen to them all day. I could meditate on them, in fact. Right, so then up to, we're already an octave higher from where we began, and that's the first C above middle C. Again, trying to test that harmonic. More or less there. And then getting higher still, we get to D. Move that nearer so you can hear it. More or less there. It's hard to fine-tune those higher notes. So I'm just testing the harmonics. That seems to be more or less there. Whereas more or less there as my middle-aged ears will allow me. Right, and the top note, that's your E, the second E above middle C. And then so I like to sort of test the note for purity by playing a fifth below it. Fifth or a fourth you can usually tell. And it's got a wonderfully pure open three-dimensional quality of sound. So now we're more or less there. The bottom note is very slightly more or less there now, yeah. The bottom strings are actually made of wound silk. A very clever chap called Peter Pringle made them for me, a whole set of silk strings back in 2013, but sadly only the bottom two survive the rigours of my playing. Right, so just quickly, let's play a little example I tune in just intonation. This is a few bars from my first album that I did in just intonation, which is Ode to Ancient Rome, which is available from iTunes and Amazon. That's the plug out the way with. Just a little quote from it anyway, with a few little slip-ups there. But anyway, check it out in all its glory on my album Ode to Ancient Rome. Other examples of my albums which are in just intonation is a well-tuned lyre, the Just Intonation of Antiquity. That includes some examples of actual surviving melodies from ancient Greece in just intonation, as well as three of my original compositions based on the ancient Greek modes. More of my recent albums, that's the Ancient Roman Lyre, that's all in just intonation. As is my single Nero's Lyre. And I say you can find all my various releases on iTunes and Amazon. Regarding the just intonation tuning tones, you can freely download these now. I've got them a Dropbox link in the video description of the tuning tones I've just given you for the Marini Made Lyre. So it's by Marini Made Harps in the US, this wonderful instrument, and you can find all the details about this also in my website ancientlyre.com in the section that I've got called How to Acquire a Lyre. Yeah, so back to the just intonation. You can download the MP3s from the Dropbox link in the video description for this video. And for other really interesting historical just intonation tuning tones, there's Baroque tuning tones. I think that's with A, it's 415 Hertz. That's about a semitone lower from modern concert pitch, which is A at 440 Hertz. And also the sort of new age fangled thing of A at 432 Hertz. You can download those from, again, the link I've got. That's one of John Wheeler's sites, his blog on these amazing tuning temperaments. So that's all again in the video description. And regarding, just off on a tangent a bit, regarding the 432 Hertz thing, look in my blogs, is 432 Hertz, New Age Schmerz. Make up your own mind on that. And anyway, I hope you enjoy that, and let's start a new lyre learning revolution in just intonation. Speaking of which, again, the blog section of my website, there is a new blog of sheet music for 10-string lyre. Check that out, where I've meticulously handwritten arrangements for 10-string lyre of a couple of examples of the music of ancient Greece, as well as 8 examples of a selection of my own compositions in some of the ancient Greek modes. Anyway, bye for now, and I hope you found this educational.